I know it seems kind of silly and redundant to have a commentary on a documentary, but I'm going to do it anyways. So here we go.
Praise the Lord, Trinity 63, it's great.
Act silly and hopefully nobody gets offended.
This is the first TV sitcom that I've ever done, and it was a wonderful experience.
The comedy's definitely going to work, and that's what the show's all about.
I believe this was Jacintha's like TV3 project or something like that, and I think she actually got a C on it, but then she won an Evie for it. So it's all subjective, people. I don't know how she got a C on it. It's an amazing documentary, especially for a college student.
Fun, silly, memory making.
Friendship, togetherness, and sardines. This is basically mine and Jacintha's last hurrah.
I looked ridiculous in college.
This is my last production, and I kind of want to go out with a bang.
I was going to do a show about something kind of like religious. Like freshman year, I was thinking, you know, they told you right.
I listened to myself in this documentary, and I just want to shake myself and be like, talk slower.
Last year, I created a show called The Biz.
Hopefully I haven't spoken too fast during this commentary. That was my big fear.
We had a good team last year with The Biz, and this year it was just...
Oh, The Biz. The Biz was just the absolute bane of my existence. It was a show, it was a soap opera basically about Hollywood and actors trying to make it in Hollywood and all the politics and intrigue that goes on in Hollywood, because obviously a 20-year-old guy from a rural town in Maine who has never been to California knows exactly how Hollywood works, and so it was a good show for us to write. It was a god-awful show.
About, from the flyers, they had posters on all over campus to try out for Trinity 63.
We literally put flyers everywhere, like everywhere. We had them everywhere.
So I was, and I did, and they cast me.
I didn't know what it was when I saw the flyer. It didn't specify it was an Emerson project, but I said, television project. Interesting. I've never done television.
Colin was the only person on the cast who was not an actual Emerson student. And I remember us being like really worried because we're like, oh God, is he gonna need us to pay him? Is he gonna expect payment? And not realizing that, hey, he was 22, like he was like only a couple years older than us.
The audition, I don't know, like most film auditions, it was pretty laid back.
So those scenes were, I think, from the callback auditions. And I remember we had actually, the night before the callback auditions, had crossover night for our fraternity, where like all the pledges finished their pledging, which turns into a big party. And so we were all drinking very much the day before. I remember I actually threw up so hard that like I broke the blood vessels in my eyes, so I had like black eyes and had to like put makeup on just to go to these auditions. But it all worked out.
Listen, I've been sitting on concrete, propped up against the trunk for the last 2 hours developing a back condition and listening to you spout your little stories.
I remember Val and there were actually several of the characters, like as soon as we saw somebody read, we're like, yep, that's who's going to be it. Like Graham, we were like, if he wants to do this, he is, or Giovanni, if he wants to do this, he is going to be Graham.
Okay. Love to.
You're not even trying to be reasonable. If it were up to you, we just all chop our hair off. Well, fine, if that's how it has to be.
Brian called me the night after the callback, and he told me, and I was actually very surprised because I was doing props for them, so I already knew that. And I guess I just didn't really expect to be cast. I was kind of doing it just for the fun of it.
Miss Weiser, I have just a few rules on my show.
Miss Weiser.
Cross the line with me. Don't step on my toes, and I won't have to raise my voice.
I got cast in another film, and I told them I would take that on Sunday night. And then about 10 minutes later, Brian gave me a call and said that he was going to offer me the role of Colin.
I actually remember that when we called Andrew and he's like, oh, I already took this part in this other play. And I'm like, no, you can't. No, we want you.
Said you have the part of Graham.
They asked me if I wanted the part, and I just didn't know what to say.
We actually had a guy audition who had auditioned, who had been a main character for us in The Biz, and he was amazing. And he auditioned for Trinity 63, and we were like, when he called us up, we're like, oh no, like,
okay.
I don't know any role that he would be. Like, he was a great actor, but like he just didn't fit any of the exact parts we were casting for. And we ended up having to tell him no, we weren't going to cast him. And I felt terrible because The Biz was like a horrible, horrible experience. And so the fact that anybody wanted to work with us again after that, we felt bad to tell them no.
If you can just convince me to do this show, I'll tell you I'll do it right now. And so he told me about the part, told me about the show. Sounded like he really had his act together. Sounded like it was going to be a good, strong production from what I've seen throughout the whole process. And I decided to go with him.
You know, I consider myself a fairly open-minded person when it comes to the opposite gender. Check, check, check. Got me? Okay. I fully support your right to vote, have babies, work corporate jobs, leave the husband home to take care of the kids. I'm completely unopposed to you wearing or not wearing whatever supportive undergarments you desire. But if there is one thing that I do not tolerate, it is the male or female, Christian or atheist, you are not to sit in my chair!
Trinity 63 is a really interesting show. It got some kooky characters running around.
I remember they had this original idea for the documentary to have Janitor Bob narrate it, and I think they just kind of half-assed doing it, and so it never, that's the one thing you see is that part where Jason was doing that interview in character as Janitor Bob, except he wasn't wearing his Janitor Bob outfit.
Oh, jeez.
Are you okay?
You can take your attitude and march straight out the door!
Go with your patent leather.
Go bet on a horse race,
He
Slappy.
just met a fat Anthony ran out with the Catholic chick.
I was more impressed than I expected to be. The characters were more fleshed out. You know, sitcoms tend to have very two-dimensional, like cardboard cutouts of characters. You know, like I'm the dad and stuff like that. And I thought all the characters have histories. We actually, for the audition, we were given character descriptions. You know, each character had a description in a past.
Yeah, we actually did at the audition. We're like, all right, it wasn't just like this is what this person's archetype is. It was like this is this person's past. Here's why they are doing what they're doing. Here's what made them the person that they are. And yeah, I think Corey really kind of took that to heart. He really kind of, I don't know, he brings this like effortless malaise to his character. The four main characters had whole long backstories, paragraphs and paragraphs, like pages and pages of backstory just to kind of get my mind wrapped around who these characters were.
Trinity 63. The interesting twist to it all is that he's Jewish and he's running.
Actually, I don't think I've ever met a Jewish person named Graham either. I feel like I really misnamed Graham Steiner. Graham's whole backstory was that like he was busy in college and he was just like it was his internship and he was so focused on doing the TV part of it that it never even occurred to him that the message that he's working on is something that he doesn't necessarily agree with. But you know, he was so obsessed with doing a good job that he just found himself, you know, years out of college still kind of doing the same thing at this Christian TV station that he never intended to work at.
High school. Same? Yeah, the very same, yeah.
I play Kirsten, and she is basically the love
Once again,
interest of the
I'm
show.
very sorry to the real Kirsten Heiser that I put your name out there on the internet attached to this horrible backstory that is not true, is not about you, was never about you, it was literally just your name that it was based on. I didn't know how the internet was going to work in 1998.
Wouldn't sit there. That's Colin's chair. He's really partial to it. If he catches you, he's really gonna hit the roof.
Graham, you know I can always handle any man.
Yeah, you could. I mean, cause.
I play Sid Cadaver.
Sid Cadaver.
He's the best friend to Graham.
I remember I learned that word cadaver the summer beforehand. And I was like, that's an amazing word for a last name. That's going to be Sid's last name.
I have the news today, oh boy. Just in case things get awkward. Why do you always do this to me?
Come on, I do you a lot of favors.
After he graduated from high school, his internship turned into a full-time job, and I came up with a very serious gambling problem.
Corey really memorized his backstory.
Hey, come on, I'm working here. Come on. Horse race. Yeah, that's right. That guy there's my horse.
I was looking for a job and saw Graham's name attached to an ad and applied, and he saw mine, and he noticed I was applying, and he hired me, and here I was working for Trinity 63, the religious station.
I have a very distinct personality and way of saying things, and I do not change that for anyone. So anyone who can't handle that can all go to hell! Good morning, and welcome to Praise the Lord.
He has this perfect, like, televangelist, like, salesman, car salesman smile, too.
Station, Trinity 63.
Okay, let's have a great show today, everyone, okay?
The best. Here's your juice, hon.
Oh, thank you, dear. Are you feeling okay?
That orange juice carton is clearly empty. I don't know why we didn't put water into any of these things. I hate that when people do that in movies, and I don't understand why we made the same mistake.
To Colin, and basically she's sort of a wimp.
So this is how it all ends. Locked in a closet, no food, no water, air running out. Do the walls look any closer to you? They look closer to me. Do the walls look any closer to you? God, where is everybody?
They're probably just busy, Aunt Sarah, but hey, let's make the best of it, right? I tried out for the part of Gloria, which is
We actually wrote the part of Gloria, again, for another person, for someone very specific. And this person actually came to the audition, and I don't know, it was a combination of like, Gloria was supposed to be just kind of like the way kind of Beth plays her, and like the person who came in kind of had a more sarcastic and kind of almost like a Sid attitude. And she also kind of looked older than everybody else in the cast, and we needed Gloria to look much younger. So combination of needing a certain look and like you didn't, like I wrote the part for you, but you just, like you didn't embody the part I thought you would embody. We ended up going with Beth.
I play Floyd, the heavy metal techie.
I really kind of like, you know, when we wrote this, we really intended Floyd to be this greasy, hard edge character. So I kind of like that Colin brought his gayness to it. Frankly, he's, you know, like I like that he's got, you know, I just like that every character in here is kind of like, why are you working at a Christian TV station?
He kind of operates on his own wavelength and sort of has a tendency of not being too talkative.
They were doing these interviews during the first, I think, read-through. And so this is the first time that Colin realized that Floyd doesn't actually talk much. I think he was kind of like, what did I put myself into here?
Her name's Deltina. She is a
So Deltina was also the name of somebody else that I went to college with. I think actually her last name in the show notes is the same last name as well. I didn't know how the internet was going to work. And like, it's just, the names that I picked were such unique names. They're so easy to Google. It's like if you Google that person's name, my stuff is going to come up, and I feel very
That was Disney on the phone. They may be interested in sponsoring the station.
Like Disney, like the Disney?
Nothing's definite, so don't start buying stock yet.
To quote Meredith Brooks, she's a bitch, she's a lover, she's a child, she's a mother, she's a sinner. And however the rest of the line goes.
That actually was in the character description we gave them in the auditions. Anybody remember that song? That was a fun song. It was very indicative of the 90s. I'm a bitch and you gotta take me how I am.
Now go. Give me a cushion, a blanket, a jacket, anything.
Okay. Well, I play a character named Janitor Bob.
I remember like Jason came into audition. He had to come in late. Like we had to make a special case to get him to audition because like he couldn't come to the regular auditions. And we were so busy with everything else. I was like, oh, why do we have to do this? He's probably not going to be good anyways. But we made the special case. And holy crap, I'm so glad he did. Because A, he absolutely embodies Janitor Bob. But he also became an associate producer. And he did lights for us and set design. And he was like a very integral part of the cast and crew.
Back out there and guard the door.
Okay.
We've got a really, really close-knit cast. The chemistry between them is great. When we have rehearsals, when we have meetings, everyone's laughing, everyone's talking.
The cast is so great.
It really was amazing how well everyone just kind of immediately bonded together, cast and crew. Just like, I've worked on so many shows at Emerson where it's like, by the end, people are over it. It's like, you know, you're doing things to help out, but really you're there for yourself. And like when things start to drag on, there's any number of other things you can do, but everyone was like into it.
I noticed that, like everybody was here earlier.
Everyone was really cooperative. It was long days, not a lot of breaks, and
yeah, we would literally go into studio probably at 7 o'clock in the morning to start setting up, and we wouldn't leave there until midnight. And then we go back in the next morning at 7 in the morning, and then not leave till midnight for 3 weekends in a row.
Oh. I know there's a lot of goofing off amongst the cast, but you know what? They're having fun. They seem to like each other.
Yeah. What kind of cameraman are you?
Cast and crew get along like this, famously.
I love how we've been here for like 7 hours and we've only shot one scene.
We're having shading issues. It's gonna be about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, shading issues. So, again, we had tube cameras. They were like 15 years behind the times. They were like, literally, if you point out a light, it would like flare. And you had to constantly adjust them so that they all matched. They all were the same color. As you switched between cameras, you didn't have one that was too blue and another one was too red. And they were old, so they kept falling out of shading. And we had to take a half hour between every scene to reshade.
My performance and in the kissing area, and I know he's lying. He better be lying. I'll kick his butt.
I think he liked her kissing in the kissing, or I think he liked her in the kissing arena because they ended up dating for a little bit afterwards.
We joke around all the time. It's like a big family.
Brian and Jacinta really could make you feel comfortable. It was a safe environment to work in.
Making people feel comfortable came from, again, learning trial by fire in the biz on just all the things that didn't work, all the things that screwed us up. And we went into the show with just this idea of like, let's not make the same mistakes. Let's, avoid things that are just going to be impossible from the start, which we did so many things with the biz that were like, this is impossible, we're not going to do this. And so we just initially tried to do things like, again, like not having doors on the sets, having a set that it's okay if it falls down because it's supposed to fall down.
It's very professional, yet is a fun-spirited and free-willed at the same time.
And yeah, we definitely gave actors kind of latitude to kind of do what they want.
Hang out outside of.
Every now, with a few exceptions, like, oh no, you have to deliver this line this way because you're setting up X, Y, Z, or whatever.
They actually have tents set up in the other room, and we all just sleep there. We just get up, rehearse for 12 hours, go to sleep.
If anyone thinks that something might, even if you think something might be f***ing up before he falls, yell stop. Yell stop. All right? I do not want to go through and have him fall and then realize something screwed up. So if you even suspect that something's going wrong, yell.
And we're taking book on how many takes this will really take.
Yeah. Once he falls down, once the set is knocked over, whoever f***s up is eating a sardine.
We now have what is called the sardine rule. If you can't get it in one, like when we try to get a shot in one take, whoever messes up the take has to eat a sardine. Now,
so yeah, shots that we want to get in one take are, for instance, when we have to make somebody eat a sardine and he doesn't want to have to do it again twice. When we have to knock the set over and we don't want to set it up again twice. I feel like those are the two main things. I feel like if there was like any big stunt that we had to do that was going to require a lot of setup, the sardine rule went into effect.
Saying, if anybody messes up, like I'm gonna kill him. So that's how like the sardine rule came about.
Okay, we're gonna open the sardines now.
I was hoping you had a change of heart. Dun, dun, dun.
I don't think we ever actually had to invoke the sardine rule either. I think there was like one time, actually it's the time that you see in the documentary where I'm telling people, once he falls down, once the set's knocked over, don't stop. We actually did have to stop because like he fell down, knocked the set over, and then there's that push in on Rachel as she's talking. And then I think I was telling the guy who's the camera guy to stop doing your zoom, like push in, stop. The stage director heard me say stop and stopped everyone. And there's this great moment of Rachel's face just going, ugh. But since it was a misunderstanding on several people's parts, we didn't make anyone eat a sardine.
Sardine?
Take.
No, thanks. Pack these myself. Down in my cellar, I have a bunch of tins. I go down to the factory, Charlie hooks me up with a bunch. You truly appreciate a good sardine like a pack of yourself.
Oh my god.
They had like a Coca-Cola like waiting for him off screen. My dietitian friends apparently eat sardines. Apparently sardines are a health food now. My dietitian friends like frequently include sardines in their stuff. Who knew?
I don't like sardines. But it was a lot of fun. I figured, if you're gonna go for it, you gotta go for it and do the best you can.
If anyone thinks that
Oh yeah, I'm rocking the jean shorts with a t-shirt tucked in. I was the coolest guy at Emerson. Just so cool.
Stop us before he crashes into this. I only wanted to do the crash once.
We had to do the crash twice though.
Their butts off. And everybody
I like how Andrew falls in the next part though. You just see his legs kind of kick out to the side.
We did it! Hey! Whoa!
We had a special rehearsal a couple of weeks ago.
We really lucked out. Like Ted actually was, I think I actually had him as a teacher there for like a, I don't know, intro to history of theater or something like that. And I think he knew Jason. They had worked in some local theater together. And so Jason knew that he did stunt work. I don't know if like he reached out to Ted or Ted reached out to him, but like Ted basically volunteered to do this for us. And I was like, oh my God, like I had always thought that I was gonna have to block all this stuff and figure out how to do it. And to have somebody who just, all they were doing was focusing on that was great. And I kind of expected him to kind of peter out because, he's a grown up, he's got stuff to do, but he was there all 3 weekends waiting around in this basement of a studio for 18 hours a day with the rest of us, making and just blocking stunts and like, he was learning stuff too. Like he was learning how to, because a stunt in the theater is different from a stunt on TV. And, in the theater, you have to make a punch look like a punch to everybody in the theater, whereas in TV, it just has to look like a punch to one camera. So it was cool. Like he taught us stuff, we taught him stuff, and all the stunts looked amazing because of it. And he saved us hours and hours because I didn't have to figure out how to block that stuff in between all the other stuff that I was doing, and just said that didn't have to figure it out with all the other stuff that she was doing.
A shower together. I was not 5 years old, actually. I take that back. I was about 2. And I had recently seen Superman, and there were these steps in my shower, and I decided to climb them and fly because I thought I could be Superman, and I hit my head. So anyway, I'm used to falling.
Good story, Giovanni.
So if you do it,
I think we borrowed those mats from like the Emerson gym or something like that. We really should have gotten like 5 of them because that's still a very small mat to fall on a cement floor.
You have to cheat a little.
Yeah. Brad, have you seen? Whoa! Ted is working very hard with us, making sure that none of us get hurt, and he's doing a very good job. He's very professional because he really is a professional, and as well as being a teacher at Emerson.
If this list isn't done by the end of tonight, you will have more to deal with than just a burnt finger.
First weekend, it was very sore. I had to pick up a lot of people the first weekend. I had to pick up Beth, I had to pick up Val, and pick up Beth, and all sorts of picking up, and my arms.
He really does pick up a lot of people in this show.
In one of my shoots, for one of my scenes, I'm supposed to come at with a knife, and that really made me nervous. All of the stunt work I've had to do, which is falling or falling off things or having to punch people, those are okay because I know that no matter what, nobody's going to get hurt because there's really no way to slip up. But with a knife, that really made me nervous because for one, I don't like being come at with a knife because that's kind of scary. But also, if one of us slipped or something went wrong, I mean, one of us could really get hurt, and there's really no avoiding that. And if you wax it or if you put tape over the knife, you're still going to get hurt. So we just changed it just to make both me and Colin and Ted and everybody else feel more comfortable, and I really.
What's really funny is I remember this. I remember when she was saying she didn't want to be coming out with a knife, and me just sitting there behind these was like, Jesus Christ, Beth, just stop being a freaking baby. And we did this like absolutely begrudgingly, like fine, we'll go at it with we won't do the knife, but we were so freaking annoyed with her. And she was right. Actually, the scene was better because of it. It actually does look a lot funnier when he's coming at her with a set of pliers than a knife. So you were right, Beth. We were wrong. Sorry we got annoyed at you behind the
For a
scenes.
stage play, I would have 6 weeks to work on, falls and punches and whatnot. But we've had one evening of instruction. We'd have a couple of rehearsals before we shoot it, and we just kind of. The shooting's a rehearsal, so there were a couple of scenes that I was.
Yeah, sometimes the shooting really is like we'll just shoot the rehearsals sometime, being like, hey, maybe we'll just do it right the first time. But we never do it right the first time.
Television, which is if it's good enough, let's move on.
Being my first production that I've done at Emerson, I've learned so much here. I mean, I don't think
Jason really, I feel like more so than anyone else on the show, like really kind of made this show his own. Like I said, he came in to audition for like just a minor, what I thought was like a minor character, and he not only made that character a much more focal point of the show, he joined us for lighting, for associate producing, and just all around like making sure the show went well.
Half-hour episodes in 2 or 3 weekends.
They work well.
The show the previous year, This Just In, was able to do 4 episodes in a single weekend.
They're a lot of fun.
But it was also a lot of just talking. We had stunts, we had punches, we had sets falling down. So, and it was also my first time directing. I think the guy who had directed This Just In had directed a bunch of stuff the previous year. So I remember him saying to me one time, like, if you would be able to do that all in 2 weekends, I'd be impressed. And I'm like, we were doing stunts. You were doing just talking like a soap opera.
Hit it on program as well.
You see Jason shaved his beard as soon as we were done shooting. As soon as we verified that all his scenes were good.
What's going on?
Nothing. I just think we should take Sarah somewhere and cool down.
Okay, fine. After I get what I need. Okay, that's enough. I'm going back to my production room now.
Colin, no!
We're all cheering because we're done. Hey, it's done, the last scene. Except I'm going into the back because I realized, wait a second, that was really bright. And I'm talking to like the TV engineer and he's like, dude, you got to reshoot this. It's too hot. I'm like, ah. So we reshot it.
Bad boys. Just keep it tight. We're not. Something's rolling. 3/4 rolling.
So you can hear sound of 3/4 rolling. We had we recorded the show on DV tape, which is like really high end for standard def at the time. And we also had 3/4 tape, which was rolling, which we just kept rolling for like bloopers like this. And so we had all these 3/4 tapes, which if you know anything about 3/4 tape, they are gigantic. Like they're, I don't even know like what to compare to. Like they're big. Like they're the size of like an Amazon box, I'd say. So we had all these things just for the bloopers kicking around in case we needed them.
Really strange not coming here on the weekends because I've enjoyed every second of it.
It doesn't matter whether you suck or not. It doesn't matter. It's the whole thing. Yeah!
I remember this day when we were doing this, like Jacinta was literally sick. I think this is our second weekend, and she literally had the flu. Like she was puking in between doing producing duties. And then we were like, hey, it's your turn for a cameo in the show, because all the crew was having a cameo. And she really did not want to do it because she had been throwing up 2 minutes before. So this whole scene of her being like, I hate you, Brian, is a sincere moment because it's like, I just threw up 10 minutes ago. Why are you making me do this?
I really do. This experience has just been like a great learning experience, number one, but also fun. Like I've had a great time, and that's largely because I have a great crew and a great cast, and everybody just wants this show.
I do have moments where I see her talking in this documentary, and it's hard to kind of believe that she's gone. That, you know, I don't know. Like I imagine most of you know by this point. It's been 20 years, but Jacinta died a couple years after graduating, and you know, I mean, there's been more years that have passed since she's died than years that I had known her. But it's, you know how college is. It's a very visceral time in your life, and the people you meet kind of make much more deeper impressions on you than people you meet any other time in your life. And so yeah, it's like I haven't seen her in what, like 15 years at this point, but it's still kind of every now and then I'm like, oh yeah, we were very close, and now she's gone.
It's a little easier than the stage because you only have to know it for a little while.
I definitely have learned something.
It was always interesting, working with like Emerson students, who like, a lot of the acting majors were there for theater, and so they knew, theater acting and TV acting are two very different things, and it was kind of interesting, kind of like having to break theater people of the theater habits. You don't need to project to people in the back. You just need to talk to people who are basically ostensibly, you're talking to somebody who's 5 inches away from you, not somebody who's at the back of a theater.
Understand how I would go about working now without what I've learned here.
3, 2, 1. It's a pain to put together a show. You go through a lot of hardship. You go through a lot of pressure, stress, everything.
And that's kind of a difficult thing.
Yeah, you do.
It's all worth it in the end.
And you know what? This one really was worth it in the end. Like, I feel like I'm, I feel like I'm real proud of this show. It was something that, took a couple years to kind of figure out how to do the right things as far as like producing a show at Emerson and working with a studio and just actors and all that stuff. And I don't know, not just the final show that we made, but just the connections that we made. I feel like my Trinity 63 people are still the people who I eagerly seek out on Facebook when it was going on. And, I feel like we all kind of shared this interesting little month of our lives that it definitely was very meaningful to me. And like I said in the end there, it made TV fun again. So once again, thank you to all the cast, all the crew. You made an amazing experience, and we made an amazing show together. And I hope you've enjoyed what we've put up here. Happy 20 years. Hope everyone's doing well. Keep in touch.
Fish, anyone? St. Tracy!
It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
I'm not just gonna sacrifice my body for a skit. I'm sorry.